Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video we will start designing this Courts web application over here. So let me show you how it works. When we refresh this page, we have a new court displayed over here, and we can see we have the court and also the author of the court displayed over here. And then we have this button called new court, and if I click on that, we have a new court displayed over here. So whenever you click on this new court button, a new court is generated, and we also have the author of the court displayed over here. So this is what we're going to design. Now in the first video I'll show you how to design this using HTML and CSS, and in the next video we will add some JavaScript to make the API work to generate the code and this author. So let's get started. Alright, here I have opened up this folder called Courts in VS Code, and I also have this folder called Images over here, and in that we have this Courts icon, and we're going to use that in our project. So first of all, let's create the necessary files. So let's click on New File, and we'll just create a file called index.html, and we'll create a CSS file. So let's click on New File, and I'll just name it style.css. And we also need to have a JavaScript file, so let's create a new file, and I'll just name it main.js. Alright, let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code you have a shortcut where you can just press exclamation and press tab, and you will have this basic HTML5 code. And here I will link our CSS file, so I'll just tap link and press tab, and here in the href I'll just type style.css, and we'll also link our JavaScript file over here, so I'll just tap script :src and press tab, and here I'll just tap main.js. Alright, now first of all we'll create a division with the class of court container, and in that we will have a division with the class of court. Now in this, first of all, we need to have the icon. So here we can see we have this images folder, and in that we have this svg file. So let's go to the svg file, and I'll just copy everything from here, and let's go back to our index.html file, and let's create a division with the class of court icon, and here I'll just paste the svg code. Alright, now the next thing we need to have is the court. So for the court we'll create a division with the class of court content, and in that we will have a code. Now just for testing, I'll just copy this code from here, and I'll just paste it over here. And now we'll create a division for the code author, so I'll just create a division with the class of code author, and in that I'll just copy and paste this author. Now the last thing we need to have is this button. So let's create a button, and we will give it a class of new court button, and here I'll just type new court. Alright, that's it with the HTML. Now let's open this in our browser. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So you can just go ahead and install this Live Server extension. And once you do that, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And now here we can see our design is being displayed over here in the browser. Now let's start styling this. So let's go to the style.css file. And first of all, we will remove the margin from the body. So let's type body, and I'll just type margin 0. Now the next thing we will do is style the court container. So here we have this division with the class of court container. So let's target that. Here I'll just type .court container, and I'll just set the height to 100 viewport height, which is 100% height of the browser window, and then we'll set the width to 100%, and let's set a background color of 001219. Right now let's bring everything to the center. So let's type display of flex, and we'll align items to the center and also justify content to the center. And now we can see all this content is in the center, and we'll also set the font family to Poppins. So here I'm in fonts.google.com, and let's search for Poppins, and let's click on this font, and we need to have the regular and the bold fonts. So let's select them. So I'll just select the regular 400, and let's scroll down, and let's select bold 700. And now let's copy this link from here, and let's go back, and let's go to the HTML file, and I'll just paste the link over here in the head section. Right now let's go back to our style.css file, and here we'll just type font family, and we'll just set it to Poppins and sans serif, and we'll also add a padding of 32 pixels for smaller screens. Right now let's go back to our design, Now here we can see that the height and the width of the quote container is more than expected. So here we can see we also have these scroll bars displayed over here. So let's go back to our CSS, and here we need to add a line of code called box sizing, and we have to set it to border box. Now when we add this line of code, the padding of the element is also added with the height and the width of the element. So now let's go back, and here we can see we don't have any scroll bars. Now let's go back to the CSS, and we will set a max width to this code. So if you go back to our HTML, here we can see in the code container we have this code. So we'll set a max width for this. So let's go back, and here we'll just type code container code, and we will set a max width of 700 pixels. And let me just add a background color to see whether it is being applied. And here we can see we have this max width of 700 pixels. Right, let's remove this background color. Right, now let's style this code content. So let's go back, and let's type code container code content, and we'll set the font weight to bold and also font size of 30 pixels, and we'll set the color of the text to white. And here we can see the code content. Right, now the next thing we will style is the code author. So let's go back, and we have a class of code author for that. So let's target that. So here just type code container code author, and for this we will set a font size of 18 pixels, and we'll set the color of the text to yellow, and we'll also add a border top. So let's type border top, and I'll just set it to 1 pixel solid, and let's set the color as 93E0FF, and we'll also add some padding. So let's type padding of 16 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right, and we'll also set a margin top. So let's type margin top, and I'll just set it to 20 pixels. Now let's style this quote icon. So let's go back, and we'll position the quote icon relative to the quote. So here we can see we have this quote division, and in that we have the quote icon. So let's go back to the CSS, and for the quote we'll also type position relative. Now whenever we add a position of absolute to any of the children of quote, then they will be positioned relative to the quote. So let's type quote container quote icon, and we will set the left position to -76 pixels and the top position to -48 pixels. You can go ahead and play around with these values. So let's go back, and we'll also rotate this a little bit and also change the scale. So let's go back, and let's type transform, and let's type scale, and we'll set the scale to 1.5, and we'll set the rotate Z to 5 degrees, and let's also set the opacity to a lower value. So let's set it to 0.1. Alright, that's it with the quote icon. Now the last thing we need to style is this button. So let's go back, and if you go back to the HTML, we can see that for the button we have this class of new quote button. So let's go back, and let's type quote container new quote button, and let's set a padding of 16 pixels top and bottom and 36 pixels left and right, and we will position it to the bottom of the screen. So let's type position of fixed, and we'll set the bottom position to 36 pixels, and now we can see it is at the bottom. We'll also bring it to the center. So for that let's type left, and we'll set it to 50%, and now we can see it starts from the 50% mark. Now we have to move this element 50% of itself to the left to bring it to the exact center. So let's go back, and let's type transform translate X, and we'll set it to -50%, and now we can see it is exactly in the center. Now let's add a background color. So let's type background, and we'll set the background color to F3B2, and let's set the color of the text to this dark color, and we'll also change the font size to 18 pixels, and we'll set the font weight to bold, and we'll also make it uppercase. So let's type text transform to uppercase. Now let's remove the border. So let's type border none. We'll also set the cursor to pointer. So let's go back, and let's type cursor pointer, and now when we hover over this, we can see we have a different cursor, and we'll also add a hover effect. So let's go back and let's type code container, new code button, colon hover, and let's set a background color of 93E0FF, and let's add a transition for smooth animation. So let's type transition of all to 500 milliseconds ease. And now if we hover over this, we have this hover effect. Now let's add a little bit of responsiveness. So if we go to a smaller screen, so for example when we are at this screen size, we can see that the quote icon is not being displayed correctly. So let's add a media query for that. So I'll just type at media max width of 900 pixels. So if the screen size is less than 900 pixels, then all the CSS that we have over here will be added. So here we'll just type quote container, quote icon, and we will set the left position to -16 pixels. And now we can see that the quote icon is being displayed correctly. And I think we can increase the padding a little bit more. So let's go back, and here let's increase the padding to 48 pixels. Alright, that looks fine. Now let's add one more media query for smaller screen sizes. So let's say we have this screen size. So let's add one more media query over here. So here I'll just type at media max width, and we'll just set it to 500 pixels. So if the width of the screen is less than 500 pixels, then we will decrease the font size of this code content. So let's type code container, code content, and let's set the font size to 24 pixels. And we also need to increase the line height. So let's type line height, and we'll just set the line height to 1.8, and that looks alright. So that's it with the design of our Codes web application. Now in the next video I'll show you how to use JavaScript to generate new codes every time we click on this new code button. So that's it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.